started this community garden, and right away the realization was that we're not going to do big production or be able to really do that much in the high altitude, alpine struggles, and people had all these ideas. So at that time I started to do a lot of research, and that's when the domes kind of came into the picture. So our structure was community garden, which was demonstration, education piece. It's right in our middle of our downtown, like regional park. It's very visible, but right away we knew we weren't going to do a lot of production there. So we demonstration, education, and then we structured it to have the Truckee community garden, and then the next step was Truckee Community Farm, where we would actually do production. And I went ahead and donated 3 acres to Project Mana and said, hey, you can use part of my property to kind of develop this. And my idea was, let's put domes on here and start producing. So we worked through some trials and errors on some things, and then last year we came up with the ideas that we need to get this going. Like, I had a sense of urgency, everything with the food revolution. I just we got to do this now. Like, Tahoe Truckee is ready. So we went ahead and purchased our dome and put that in place on our property and installed it in October. And I we kind of working with in conjunction with Project Mana, but kind of stepped aside and was kind of doing it more independently and wanted to really get this rolling. And so we built the dome, and then Susie and I met in January and decided to create a partnership, and now she lives out on the property and helps manages it and whatnot. And we had our first harvest in March and
April,
I'm sorry.
April 9th.
April 9th. And we started donating the food to Project Mana. Anywhere from 10 to 15 pounds a week we were donating to Project Mana, and they were giving to their clients, which they just absolutely loved. So once that happened, actually the very first offering that we gave to Project Mana, we had our local newspaper come out and do an article on it, and so we had an article in the paper, and that's when I say all this momentum has really just flooded. Once the paper came out, everyone saw what we were doing, the pictures of the dome, the picture of this lush green in April when there was still, we had tons of snow where we're at, so that, there was still tons of snow on the ground, everyone's skiing industry, and they're like, oh my gosh, look at these fresh fruits and vegetables. So the phone started ringing, calls all over the place, people I've never met before. And then, so that was kind of the Truckee Community Farm, like that idea. And our idea is that we don't really have outdoor farm space, So our idea was let's create these domes and let's network everyone that builds a dome in the Tahoe Truckee area, and that's going to be our farms.
Then meeting Bill, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Not only can I start applying what I've learned and growing food and learning as I go, but we're demonstrating in our environment how we can grow 4 seasons. And that's what I just loved about the dome. I was like, oh my gosh, this starts to bring it all together. Not while we're starting to work with our regional partners and who are food abundant and bring that food in. At the same time, we can start seeing how to grow our own food and reduce that food insecurity kind of from both sides. Here we have this amazing greater food shed, but we also can harness the energy that Tahoe has, the same sunlight that the Central Valley has, but we just need to use a dome structure to be able to use that sunlight to grow food year-round. So Lee's Organics, and actually Bill and the owner of Lee's Organics are good friends, and that's actually how I came to know Bill. Was Mark Griffin, the owner of Lee's Organics, was following my blog where I was kind of cataloging everything I was learning on my journey. He was like, oh, you need to...
What's the name of your blog?
foodchronicles.net. And so Bill, or Mark, was like, oh, you need to talk to Bill Kelly. He's just built this greenhouse. And at the time I didn't know it was... I just thought it was a typical greenhouse. I didn't realize it was a dome. But just the fact that someone was really striving hard to implement some 4-season growing practices. And so I started talking with Bill, and I started talking with Mark, like, what kind of marketing, opportunities do you have within your business? Because that's where my experience predominantly lies. Like, oh, well, we're looking to develop a philanthropic program where we raise awareness for the importance of nutrition in healthcare and installing edible gardens. And I was like, I can do that. So I started helping him with his program, shaping it, and we came with the idea of calling it Gardens to Hospitals, so installing edible gardens at hospitals. It could be a demonstration site, a therapy garden, a way in which a hospital can grow their own food, outreach component into the community, getting kids involved, local gardening clubs, things like that. Well, naturally, we want to give back to our own local community in Tahoe, so that would mean installing an edible garden at our hospital. But a typical raised bed, even cold frames, wasn't practical because there's going to be that 4-month lag where there's the potential to wane, and then people lose interest, and you have to upstart again. So we have a new cancer center going into our hospital, so this is so state-of-the-art looking. It's attractive structure, and to put this in a really visible place. So pitch to our hospital, we'd like to install an edible garden, but not just a raised bed, because some history has proven that those do kind of fall out of interest over time. But something like this that we can demonstrate that we can do this year round, and they loved it. And so before I could even follow up with them about, are you interested in working with us on installing a dome, and our program would help with the ideas behind what is the right growing structure for wherever we work. What is the right growing structure? Obviously a dome for Tahoe. And then work with them on how to raise the resources and the funds to install an edible garden. And again, in this case, how do we get the funds to raise a dome? Hence the dome raising project starting to already develop. And so by the time I followed up the hospital, they had already shared it with the elementary school. And then that elementary school another elementary school heard about that elementary school's interest. And so it
became viral.
Yeah,
People just were like, you're getting a dome? We want a dome. We want a dome.
And we have these articles coming out. So we had the Sierra Sun, our local paper, come out when we're like, it's April 9th. We're harvesting, 12, 10, 15 pounds of produce on April 9th. We're donating it to our local hunger relief agency, and it was food grown in a really unique structure. So they were, this is pretty newsworthy. Had them come out, and so everything was kind of coalescing at the same time. It was like, we had the article come out. I, was pitching this idea about gardens to hospitals and a dome at the hospital. More people just in general, word of mouth was spreading about the dome. So it was just, the time was right.
As the dome raising project will also help facilitate with, the purchasing and the installation and the curriculum.
And that's where Kelly's their knowledge comes in, because Bill's already built one. So that's the other thing we need is that local expertise. So
it's a real collaboration of like public, institutional, private, and it's truly a equal collaboration, which is so amazing. I mean, it's like I said, in the last 2 months we have just been, every step we take, like a new door opens and like more people are coming on board. I mean, before I got on the airplane to come, one of a local private lady who's does very well for herself contacted me. She's like, I want to be involved. What can I do? I want a dome. My neighbor wants a dome. The church wants a dome. I identified these domes, and just so it's really exciting, really exciting. And to think that there's only one dome now, and I mean essentially I've identified 12 domes that they want to go in like now. So.
And much in the same way that Growing Spaces uses growing as a way to really gain excitement. It has kind of happened without us. Me and Pooja were talking about this the other night. It's like, you guys talk about growing and we talk about raising, which are, similar words. So instead of a barn raising, it's a dome raising. And then playing on the word raising vegetables and fruits, and raising awareness and consciousness for eco-literacy within schools. And so that will be the other part of the dome raising project, is the storytelling piece, is how all these domes in the community are connected, and how what each part is playing. It's visible to the community. The kids are going home and talking with their parents. Patients and staff and visitors are talking about it. Kids from the schools are coming to the hospital to work and learn, in that environment as well. So it'll be definitely a shared project within the community. So.
And one of the things that we had a realization just being here over the weekend and seeing Pagosa with all the domes. I mean, we got off the airplane and I was like searching for domes and
Right.
going like, there's one, you know, driving down the road. I'm like, oh, there's another one, cool, you know, because in our area there's none, you know. So it was really cool to see that. Wow, they're actually here and people are doing it. But one of the biggest things that I took away from this weekend was the fact that there is, you know, 80, 90 domes in this area, and just talking to some of them that they're here. But what's neat about what we're doing is that we're on ground level, and you guys have done all the research and have figured out, and that we're going to be able to like connect all these domes. Like the dome raising project, you know, our goal is that any dome that is you know, going in the area is going to come from the dome.
Whether
raising
institutional
projects.
or private.
So these are going to be these connections where people aren't going to have to rethink the wheel, and everyone's going to be the same page, as well as those researchers are going to come back. I mean, the Tahoe Food Hub is really the umbrella of all of this. The Tahoe Food Hub, and then you have the gardens, the hospitals, the gardens, the school. You have the dome raising project. You have the Truckee Community Farm. You have the Truckee Community Garden. So all these things feed. So our goal is that, you know, as people produce food for their local cafeterias or for their own personal use, as well as any excess food is going to go up into the food hub, which will end up being distributed throughout the community anyway. So it was really exciting to come here and see the network, and then take it back and be like, wow, we're on ground level, and we're going to be able to like make this spiderweb network where it's all connected and stuff. So that was one of the coolest things to like take away from this weekend. So.